Boyfriend made reference during. I, a 37-year-old woman, was having sex with my 39-year-old male fiance. I was on top doing my thing. He started laughing. I was confused and asked what was funny. He made a reference about me looking like the Penguin. I'm heavier and was wearing a white tank top. I was still confused. He then pulls up a picture of the Penguin from Batman, with his disgusting face and white shirt moving in an obvious way that resembled me. I'm not usually overly sensitive and can take a joke, but this made me angry, very angry. I already really struggle with self-worth, especially in the bedroom. It led to an all-day issue. He apologized, but it meant nothing to me. Am I overreacting?
Oh,
dude.
No!
My man. He generally doesn't make comments about my body, mostly because I think he's afraid to. But yes, he has in the past while having sex. Once he made a reference of me looking like a dinosaur because my hand was kind of up, and another that he wanted to push on my stomach and make me laugh like the Pillsbury Doughboy, all while on top, his preference. And usually I can just laugh stuff off, but this was too much. I should mention he's not some super skinny dude himself and can out-eat me.
I think most people understand this is not just about the joke. It is about how people can slowly carve themselves into you. How if it happens with a soft enough voice and a half smile, you might not even realize you're bleeding. Some people believe this is what love looks like. Familiarity, teasing, honesty without filters. But I don't think we are supposed to become a punchline in someone else's comfort, especially not in the exact moment we are supposed to be the most intimate when we are giving them everything. She doesn't cry, not right away. She says she's used to laughing things off. That this isn't the first time. There was the time he said she looked like a dinosaur, or the time he said she was like the Pillsbury Doughboy and pushed her stomach. And the thing is, she stays, or she has stayed up to now. Not because she likes being hurt, but because part of her thinks this is the cost of being seen. That maybe if she can be easygoing enough, quiet enough, she won't scare him away. That if she lets him joke about her belly, he won't leave the bed altogether. In other words, we stay with people who hurt us in ways that feel familiar. We confuse anxiety with love. We laugh when it hurts, because being left would hurt worse. So no, she's not overreacting. She's finally reacting. And maybe this isn't the worst thing a partner can do. Maybe there are worse betrayals. But that doesn't mean it is small. It doesn't mean it's okay. Intimacy should not feel like a stage where someone else gets to perform their wit at your expense. There's a big difference between someone laughing with you and someone laughing while you are too busy loving them the way they want to notice you've become the joke. I wish someone would tell her sooner that you are allowed to want sex that feels like safety. You are allowed to want a partner who softens at your softness. You are allowed to stop being the good sport, and you are allowed to stop laughing.
Am I overreacting for thinking of leaving my husband after he left me alone to hang with the boys hours after I nearly died? Y'all, I could use your wisdom here. I'll try to make this as short as possible. 2 days ago, I, a 37-year-old woman, went into anaphylaxis from an unknown source while shopping with my husband, 37-year-old man. My face erupted into burning hives out of nowhere. This has never happened to me before. I asked him to call the nurse line to make sure the ER would be covered. I'm American. He wouldn't, so I had to while my face was on fire. I get the green light and off to ER I go, where he drops me off and heads back to sit with the kids, who are 15 and 11. Long story short, the head nurse took one look at me and had the anaphylaxis cocktail ordered before I made it to the registration. 5 minutes later, and I wouldn't be here. I get discharged and I'm flying high on that cocktail and adrenaline. Husband gets me home and asks if he can go play D&D with the boys. Both kids are at sleepovers. Again, I'm effed up on meds. Happy to be alive. I would have agreed to anything, so I said he could. Next morning, it hits me. Why would it even cross his mind to go out after that happened? Now I'm so hurt, I'm seriously thinking of leaving him. Am I overreacting? Update. Wow, I'm absolutely overwhelmed by how this took off. So many comments, I can't keep up, so I'll try to address what I can as an update. We still have no idea what caused it. I have an appointment with a specialist. I do have known allergies, but never reacted that quickly or that intense before. I'm not a doctor and can only repeat what they told me. It was anaphylaxis shock. I was minutes from dying. I am not the type to cry wolf and will refuse a trip to the ER at all costs. I've given myself stitches to avoid the ER. Oh my God. I am 95% sure my husband did not try to poison me. He's a donkey bum, yes, but not an evil person. He is not neurodivergent. I am, and so are my kids, which is why I didn't want them at the ER or left alone. I talked to him the morning after about being hurt that he'd even consider leaving me alone like that, which is when he said I was overreacting. Him saying I was overreacting, combined with his non-action, is what made me start to think about leaving him. I spoke with him again last night, showed him the post, and spent a good amount of time bawling. He's appalled and has been the sweetest, most attentive man since. Lastly, I have spent a lot of time reflecting on this relationship. It probably isn't healthy, but he's not the only one to blame. We're going to try counseling.
It's a strange thing to nearly die and still be thinking about your insurance deductible. But some people are raised that way. Some people learn to be cheap with their pain, to be quiet, to be efficient, easy to tuck into a bag and carry without complaint. I believe she said yes, not because she's fine, not because she doesn't want him there, but because she's been trained by either culture, family, by repetition, that she doesn't need much. And so when the person she loves chooses not to stay, the wound doesn't start with that choice. It starts with the idea that of course he thought he could go. And she's furious the next morning, not at him exactly, but at the part of herself that made it easy. Because if you spend your whole life telling people, don't worry about me, eventually someone will believe you. Bowlby would simply tell us that a person with anxious attachment becomes an expert in swallowing needs. That abandonment doesn't surprise her, it just confirms what she's always suspected. That love is something you earn by not asking for too much. But the thing is that she was asking. She was just asking very quietly in the only language she's ever been allowed to use. Restraint. I believe the apology he gave afterward was sincere. Maybe he's trying now, but the damage isn't in what he did. It's in how long it took her to realize she deserved something different. And what she deserves is something that starts with the idea that your pain does not have to be cost-effective to be worth responding to.
Am I overreacting? My fiance isn't invited to the wedding because the bride doesn't want people thinking she is prettier than her. This is a 26-year-old man. My lifelong best friend, a 26-year-old man, is getting married later this year. When he first got engaged, he asked me to be one of the groomsmen. I obviously accepted and have been excited for the wedding and to see my best friend get married. His fiance, a 26-year-old woman, and my fiance, a 25-year-old woman, have always gotten along really well. The four of us hang out pretty frequently, always have a great time, and there has never been any problems. My fiance has always considered her a friend and has been extremely happy for them and excited about their wedding. His fiance has even asked my fiance for her thoughts and suggestions on certain decor for the wedding, venues, colors, things like that. The official wedding invitations went out recently, and when it arrived at our house, I noticed it was only addressed to me and also didn't say anything about a +1. I was kind of surprised by this because I had been assuming that my fiance would be invited, given the fact that I have been with my fiance for 4 years, longer than he has been with his fiance. He has been my best friend since preschool, the four of us hang out all the time, and some of my family members received invitations to the wedding. But before jumping to conclusions, I thought maybe none of the groomsmen or other friends of the bride and groom are allowed to have a +1 due to costs or things like that, since weddings are obviously expensive. The other groomsmen are all friends of mine and his, so I called them to see if their significant others were also not invited. Turns out Every single one of them received an invitation that included their significant other, and the bridesmaids all get to bring their significant others as well. So at that point, I called him to let him know that I got my invitation, but that my fiance was not included on the invitation, and I asked if there was just an error or if they forgot to include her. That's when he informed me that his fiance doesn't want my fiance coming to the wedding because she doesn't want all of the guests thinking that my fiance is prettier than her. Now, I will say, my fiance is insanely gorgeous. If I had a penny every time someone asked me how I managed to get her, I would be a billionaire. On the other hand, his fiance isn't the most conventionally attractive woman. I feel bad saying that, and it's something I have never said out loud to anyone, but for context to the situation, I wanted to include that here. I told him that I know it's not my wedding, so I don't get to pick the guest list, but I think it's a bit unfair and ridiculous that my fiance, who they are friends with, is the only significant other of the whole entire wedding party that doesn't get to come to the wedding because his fiance is worried people will think she is prettier than her. I told him that his fiance is the bride, so everyone is going to be looking at her and no one is going to be focusing on my fiance, who isn't even a bridesmaid, so she's not even going to be standing up in front of everyone. Instead, he said that he agrees with me and that he has already tried multiple times to explain this to his fiance, but that she won't budge and is insistent that everyone will think my fiance is prettier. So I ended up telling him that I cannot be a groomsman or attend the wedding then, because in my eyes, it's not fair to my fiance for me to attend or be in a wedding where she is the only significant other not invited due to the bride's own insecurities. He's upset with me now and thinks I'm overreacting, but I just don't think this is fair. My fiance told me not to worry about her and that I should be part of my best friend's big day. But even with my fiance being completely fine with me going, I honestly don't want to be around the bride.
See, it's not about looks, right? Not really. The bride doesn't simply fear being uglier. She fears being unseen. To be the bride is to be at the symbolic center of attention, the subject of the gaze, the woman, in capital W, the one we are supposed to clap for, the one we are supposed to weep over. So the bride's worst fear is, what if the gaze lands on someone else? It's not rational, but Lacan calls this the logic of the hysteric. I want to be desired, but I cannot stand the uncertainty of his desire. So she removes the question. She tries to take control, and in this case, the control takes the form of exclusion. Opie's fiance, who didn't do anything wrong, becomes too much, too beautiful, too present, and she must be left out so the bride can feel centered again. Because deep down, the bride isn't asking, is she prettier? She's begging, tell me he would never want her. Tell me I am the only one he sees. The irony, of course, is very brutal, because in trying to preserve her status as the one, the bride creates an atmosphere of division. And now people won't remember how beautiful she looks. They'll remember, however, who wasn't invited and why. There is a cruelty in this insecurity, but there's also a sadness. A girl who cannot trust she's enough unless every other woman disappears. In Lacan's view, the hysteric never finds peace through control. She only finds it when she stops asking, am I the most desired? And starts asking, why do I need to be the most desired? Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.